After missing 15 games due to injury, VIKTOR Arvidsson returns to action for the Orange and Blue. We get you set for the Oilers and the Bruins on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Good evening, everybody. Hope you're staying warm out there. Hope you're doing good on this Thursday. Tom Gazzola with you live inside the EST Satellite Studios from beautiful downtown Edmonton. And then we've got Hernan Salas back at EST Global HQ. Matt Cassian, our game analyst, will be joining us in a little bit. And we'll also be joined by Eric Russo, Bruins beat reporter. You may have seen him on this show last season. He'll stop by in about 40 minutes or so to give us the scoop on those Bruins, who have Joe Sacco coaching them now, taking over for Jim Montgomery. Sacco 9-4 as bench boss of the Bruins, and they are coming off of a pair of victories and conclude a 5-game road trip. The Oilers, of course, continuing a 5-game homestand. GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. They are presenting sponsors of the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pre- and post-game shows. Great to have them on board. And, of course, we highly encourage you to join the conversation. Hit us up via the text line, 780-218-9999. And if you're watching on YouTube, you know the nasty chat. Get in there, like, share, subscribe. I'm not making a lot of progress to get to 11,000. We want to make sure Dusty eats pickled herring on Christmas or before Christmas or when he comes back from his holidays. I think we're still stuck at 10.6 thousand subscribers. Let's get the Latino heat in here. Spice things up a little bit. Nancito, how are you tonight?
Doing good, Tom. Pumped for this game. Seems like it's been a while. Yeah. It's a popular lid. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, excited for this game. It's gonna be fun, man. Seeing Arvy, is that what they call him on the team? Back in the lineup with his mysterious injury. Well, it's been serious to us, not to them, but
undisclosed injury.
Undisclosed, but yeah, it's it's a cold night in Edmonton, but that barn's gonna be full, and it should be a fun game. We'll see if the Oilers can bounce back.
I think that they will. I had a great conversation today with Connor Brown, and we were talking about that. He just said little details need to be tightened up, and he gave credit to the Panthers and the Golden Knights. Those are two good teams. And, the Oilers did get a lot of goals, too. They've scored, 11 in their last 2 games. They've given up 9. Yeah. But it's some little things that they want to correct. And, some people – it's been interesting this week kind of seeing some of the reaction, not all. But some people are like, oh, here we go. This is the start of the slide. They're unraveling defensively, not getting those saves. And I'm like, okay, I understand that premise.
Yeah.
But I'm like, isn't the sample size pretty small to make that leap with the belief? But some people, not everybody. I would say it's a small vocal minority. Not many. I'll reiterate that. But I was like, oh. I think they have a great opportunity to bounce back in these next 3 games in 4 days. How do you see that?
I think so, too. I think this is a good team. I mean, were they awful? No, I think both teams probably gave up more than they wanted to in that game on Monday. Both goaltenders weren't as sharp as you'd like them to be. It was a 6-5 game. It wasn't 6-1. Like, they didn't get blown out. So I think we got to remember that as well. So, yeah, I'm not too worried. I know everybody's going to be watching Skinner tonight. That's Stuart Skinner closely. And like Joaquin and I were discussing, like, if the Oilers win 5-3, Tom, and it's okay. Like, I know people are going to be like, well, he led in 3. Like, good teams, goaltenders led in 2-3 goals a game, sometimes 4, and they still win, guys. Like, we just got to stop jumping all over Stuart Skinner after every loss. Like, it's getting old, Tom. But
that's so. I think, just really quickly, as you were saying that, this popped in my head. I'm like, if he lets in 1 or 2, that there's a few people out there that would be like, well, he got lucky. Hit a post, and there was a couple there that he got a piece of, but those looked like they were headed in, and he got really lucky. I'm joking, but I'm also at the same time kind of serious that there are people out there that would say that.
Oh, 100% there would be. But it's just one of those games. Is this going to be a good battle? It's, Swayman hasn't been at his best this year since holding out and all that fun stuff. So, it's going to be an interesting game. I truly do. I expect the Oilers to bounce back. I expect Stuart Skinner to have a good game and go from there. So I'm not too worried about the Oilers losing that game. Now, if we're talking about, an extension of this and it's 4 or 5 games, then sure. But we need to pump the brakes. The Oilers are going to be absolutely fine. And, this is a team that they always play close games, Tom. So it's not going to be easy. We're not sitting here saying it's going to be a walk in the park for them. But what this team has shown in this last little bit, I'm not too concerned about it. I'm not, before I was concerned about the starts maybe or something like that. But lately it's been pretty good.
It has been pretty good. We'll see if the Oilers can get back into the win column after that loss on Monday to the Florida Panthers. I was just looking at the home stats for the Oilers versus Boston. They've lost 4 straight visits versus the Bruins. 15, 20, and 4 all-time against crazy. Boston at home. Yeah, 3 ties in there as well. Remember those. The last Oilers victory on home ice versus the Bruins was October 18th, 2018, 3-2. In overtime. So the Bruins are one of those franchises that have given the Oilers fits, except for in the Stanley Cup final in 88 and 1990. The Oilers winning those ones, I believe, in 4 games in 88, although they had the lights go out at Boston Garden and they kind of played technically game 4 here. So it ended up being a sweep, even though it was kind of like the 5th game. It was very strange with the lights and the power going out at Boston Garden at 88. And then I think they won in 5 games, if I remember off the top of my head, in 1990. So, pretty good sledding for the Oilers in the postseason versus Boston. Not so much during the regular season historically. All right, Latino Heat. You have a question of the night. Do you want to save it for when Cass comes on?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that. And then we'll get some listeners and viewers in on the question of the night as well. Of course, if you're driving, drive safe, be warm. Stay warm and be courteous out there. Don't go too slow. Don't go too fast. The roads and the conditions not ideal, obviously, right now as we go through this cold snap. All right, let's get to your starting lineups. Brought to you by South Fort Chev. Upgrade your sleigh, fittingly enough, with South Fort Chevrolet in the month of December. Reserve your 2025 Equinox, Trax, Traverse now. They won't last long. They've also got 2025 Silverado Customs with payments starting as low as $199 bi-weekly. See dealer for details at www.southfortchev.com. A couple of lineup tweaks. You heard Hernan talking about it. VIKTOR Arvidsson is back. Top 2 lines stay the same. McDavid between Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. He'll be wearing the full bubble. Saw him today. Poor guy, man. He had a bit of a cast on his nose. He had the black eyes. He was handling it really well. He had a great line when he was getting scrummed. I was doing an interview with Connor Brown. If you're a Nasty Club member, that's an exclusive for you. It's up there. Anyway, Hernan, Zach Hyman, when he was being asked about his nose, he was saying it was over here. Yeah. And then when they put it back, he said it sounded like a bag of chips.
Yeah, he said it looked, and he just looks bad. And kudos to him for, we know he's tough. We know he's going to play, but that was tough, man. That's a tough, that's a tough hombre right there. I'm very impressed by him.
I will second that. Tough hombre, indeed. Draisaitl, Podkolzin, and Kapanen, the second line. That line's doing good. And then Arvidsson makes his return. He'll play left side with Connor Brown on the right side, Adam Henrique down the middle. And as Chris Knobloch described it, and I was kind of saying, hey, I wouldn't mind to see this the last couple of days, Arvidsson gets eased back into the lineup, especially with Kapanen producing lately. So that's all right. We'll see how long that lasts. The janitor, Matthias Janmark, going in at center with Jeff Skinner on the left, Corey Perry on the right. That means Derek Ryan comes out. On defense, Ekholm with Bouchard, Nurse with Stetcher, Kulak with Emerson. As for the Bruins, you got Pavel Zacha with Morgan Geekie and David Pastrnak, Elias Lindholm with Brad Marchand and Justin Brazeau, Charlie Coyle centering Trent Frederick and Oliver Wahlstrom, who has just arrived to the Bruins. He will make his Bruins debut, claimed off of waivers from the Islanders this week. John Beecher centering Mark McLaughlin and Mark Kostelik. And then on defense for the Bruins, Zadorov. Remember him? Nikita Zadorov with Charlie McAvoy. Jordan Osterley. Remember him? with Brandon Carlo, and then Mason Lorai with Andrew Peak. Cole Koepke, the odd man out for the Bees. That brings us to starting goalies. For the Oilers, 26-year-old Stu Skinner, 11-8-2, 298 goals against average, 892 save percentage, 1 shutout in 21 games this season. Skinner versus the Bruins, he's played them 5 times, 2-2-1 record, 298 goals against average, 898 save percentage in those 5 appearances versus Boston. And then at the other end of the rink, it is Jeremy Swayman, also 26 years of age. He is 11-10 with 2 OTS losses and has a 314 goals against average, 887 save percentage, unacceptable, with 1 shutout in 23 games this year. Swayman versus the Oilers, 2-1 record, 331 goals against average, 886 save percentage in those 3 appearances. And finally, before we get to game changers with Matt Cassian, we get to the Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy Injury Report, because at Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy, we treat you like the pros. Our multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. Whether you're recovering from an injury or looking to enhance performance, we treat you like a pro, using the same locker room approach trusted by the best in the game. For the first time in forever, Edmonton does not have Viktor Arvidsson on the IR. They have Alec Regula on there, his knee, still recovering from that. And then Evander Kane, LTIR, abdominal surgery. Boston, just the 1 injury. Hampus Lindholm, the D-man, on IR, lower body. That is your Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy Injury Report. All right, Hernan Salas, we have Cass standing by. I think now would be a wonderful time to perhaps bring him in and then unload the question of the night and see what Cass thinks. We can all kind of bat that one around, and we encourage people to text us 780-218-9999 and then get it in the nasty chat. Your thoughts on the lineup, Arvidsson, and then, of course, the Latino Heat firing us the question of the night. Go for it, Hernan.
Yeah, it's just a simple one with the return of Arvidsson, who's missed the last 15 games with a mysterious injury that they will not share with us. But yeah, he's starting on the 3rd line, and I think everybody's okay with that today, as you're going to kind of slow play him in. I think they've liked what Kapanen's done. But the question is, how long you can talk about within the game tonight or games in total heading into Christmas, but how long before Arvidsson is back with Leon Draisaitl, guys?
Oh, welcome in, Cass.
Ooh.
You can take that one off the hop.
Yeah, man, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear the question of the night before. I missed it. That was
the question of the night.
It's a great question of the night.
Yeah.
Man, how many games or how long until Arvidsson's back with Draisaitl? Because it all hinges on how we think they're going to play here, and how that top line is produced, or the Draisaitl line is producing, and how the 3rd line goes. Because I think putting him on, which actually, you know what? This question of the night ties right into game changer number 1. So, so we might as well jump right into it as I just pull up the liner, because I'm going to give it a.
All right, Cass with the liner.
I got to get to it there. There we go. So game changers. Brought to you by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. Damon Bunting is a consistent top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian Remax. Is it now realtor? I've never known how to say that word, but he's at the top. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community driven. He understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out on DamonBunting.com or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. So, game changer number 1, again, just to steal it and jump right in, Viktor's return, which factors right into the Hernan's question of the night. With him coming back, what do we expect from Viktor Arvidsson? What are we going to see? How long until he's on that top line? It's going to take until they lose, I think.
Okay.
Really.
Okay.
And maybe I would say probably 2 or 3 games. 2 or 3 games. They might give it then after the Christmas break. So I wouldn't be surprised. And not that I'm thinking the Edmonton Oilers are going to carry a bunch of losses into their Christmas holiday. But you want to get Arvidsson back into the groove. You want to get him back into the game, back up to speed, back up to tempo. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you bag skate and practice. It is never the same as playing in a game. Getting to that game speed and that crispness is going to take a little bit for Arvidsson to get to. I can't imagine it's going to take him that long. Like, and I don't want to knock Podkolzin. I don't want to knock Kapanen. But Arvidsson is a higher quality player overall. If we look at the body of work and what he can bring to a line, he most likely at some point in the next 5 games, I would say, would slide in. So that's going to be my answer to the question of the night, 5 games, and a little bit more on game changers. And we talked about this on Two Guys and a Goalie this afternoon. And I think it was an excellent point is that, what would make us happy with Arvidsson's game tonight? And I think him being a rat would make me very happy. Just not needing him to score a goal, hopefully. The top 2 lines do, not needing him to get an assist, but we want to see that scrappiness from him, that drive the other team crazy, the chippy, always on top of you, always bumping the defenseman, even if he's not running guys over, always in the way, always just kind of being that jittery little water bug that's just annoying the crap out of everybody. That's what we want to see. We want to see him get back to that type of game, because we've seen it in spurts when he was healthy, where he'd do it for a game or two and be one of the best Oilers on the ice back when they were really struggling at the start of the year, and then he'd kind of go quiet and get away from that a little bit. So want to see that come out of him. Want to see him engage. You want to see him, again, because we don't know really what the injury was, but would like to see him engage physically, be around the puck, be around the net, going to the dirty areas of the ice. And he is a guy, even on that third line, that can have an impact on that line. I mean, now that, with Brown on the other side, you do have some speed. You have guys that are unafraid of mucking it up around the corner, who do try to get to the net and can put some pressure on teams with the forecheck. So expecting a solid game from him. Don't want to expect too much, but Tommy, want to see him in it and around it.
And around it. I like
Hernan, that. Great question. That's a fantastic question.
Thank you.
I'm laughing at what Cal in the Park texted in while you were going through point number 1, Viktor Arvidsson on Game Changers. Cal in the Park says, I thought the question of the night was, how long until he was back on the IR? LOL. Answer the same. 3 games. Cal. Ooh, the high hard one from Cal. I like that. Well played, sir. I think that he'll take his spot back on the second line or whatever, that line with Leon Draisaitl, I think in a couple of games, 2 games, depending on if Kapanen keeps rolling, then there's no reason to, but I'd like this idea of letting him ease back into the lineup and maybe taking the pressure off. But he's got 2 good veterans on his line. Like Henrique and Brown, don't get me wrong. Henrique has not had an outstanding season offensively. No, nor has Connor Brown, but those are 2 capable veteran players. Yeah. That's a line of 3 good NHL players, Cass. I have no issue with them getting a regular shift. I wouldn't really be concerned, would you?
No, not concerned at all. I'm not concerned with them at all from getting a good regular shift and being able to play against other teams' good players. I mean, that's a line you can trust. I think you can really trust them. And if they keep having success, that's why I said 5 games. Like if you keep winning, you're not going to switch things up. Now, if you lose or if you have a night where everyone's not playing very well and the lines go in the blender, that's probably the first change that's going to happen. Like if Draisaitl's line is completely dry, if they're not playing well and Arvidsson seems to have some jump back and he's playing at a good level, he's going to get bumped up there right away.
Yeah. Okay, really quickly before we get into point number 2, what do you think of Matthias Janmark, a.k.a. the Janitor, great nickname, sliding into center on the 4th line?
Yeah, just cleaning up everything. That is a fantastic nickname. I love that. Well, hey, you don't want to take him out of the lineup, and you're trying to find a way to keep him in. You don't want Perry or Skinner. You're not. Perry's played quite well. You're not going to sit him. Skinner, you're not going to sit him, even though he's moved down the lineup. And you don't want to sit Janmark because he's been playing extremely well for his limited role. He's been good on the penalty kill recently, and he's found ways to produce. So you want to keep him in the lineup, and you're rolling him in the middle. So it's been a short observation window where we've got to see that. I don't necessarily love him playing center, but that could just be because we haven't really seen it. And it's not a place he's played that much in his career. So jury's out on it as a whole. Similar to that 3rd line where you said there's veteran guys that they're capable. There are some pretty capable guys in that line too. Corey Perry, not as fleet as foot, still a smart player, pretty good positionally, goes to the net, does some good things. Skinner, when he's on, some high-end offensive talent. And we have also seen him go to the dirty areas. So the one, I don't know if I would say concern, it's not necessarily concern, but something to pay attention to is it a line that could get into trouble in their own end when they get stuck there? Like if the other team is having a good shift, maybe they get a change and they get a mismatch with one of the top lines, So for example, like if you have the Pasternak line that gets out there, or there was like an icing, and now you're kind of half tired, and then you're stuck out against the best line, are they going to be able to deal with that, or can Matthias Janmark work his way out of problems when you're stuck in the defensive zone? That's where the jury's going to be out still, and we just ultimately got to see more.
780-218-9999. Let us know your thoughts on tonight's matchup against the Boston Bruins. Where and how long does VIKTOR Arvidsson stay on that line, or does he get bumped up to the second line? That's kind of the question of the night. How long till he gets the promotion back up to Leon Draisaitl's wing? Point number one was in regard to VIKTOR Arvidsson of Game Changers. It was Victor's return. Point number two, cast coaching changes. And we're talking about a Bruins team that's 9-4 with Joe Sacco as interim head coach.
Yeah, as interim head coach. And you wonder if they keep playing well, if that interim tag gets removed at some point. Now, they might want to wait longer, but, it's kind of, it almost has the feeling of like the Edmonton Oilers and Jay Woodcroft, right? Where it was a good team with good players that had a good season last year, had a great season the year before, and is just struggling at the start of the year. Can't seem to turn around. And so the easiest trigger to pull was that of firing the coach. Now, Sacco steps in, not a coach that was unfamiliar, comes from inside the organization, an assistant coach who had been there already, which is why he gets the interim tag. But it seems to have woken this team up, where they're playing a lot more like the Boston Bruins that we saw last year, as opposed to the team that was a sub 500 team at the start of the season. And we in Edmonton are familiar with that, where it wakes some of the guys up. Guys start to play a little bit better. For whatever reason, that coaching change seems to have revitalized these Boston Bruins, and they're playing much, much better hockey now. And they're coming into Edmonton with some momentum. Much like Edmonton, they've been playing well. Last 10 games have been solid for them. And the coaching change for right now seems to have sparked these Boston Bruins, where you're going to get a much better Bruins team than you got at the start of the season, where they just weren't very good, or were just sub-average.
Yeah, there was a lot of issues. And listen, there's a lot of player turnover. I know that. They lost a lot of long-time Bruins. So there's that element of things. We talked about it here about the Oilers and the changing of what was it, 6 or 7 players, and how that took time for guys to get integrated. That was the thing. It looked like in Boston too. You lose Ullmark. You trade him because you need to pick someone in net. They go with Swayman. Swayman has a battle with Don Sweeney and Cam Neely, and he's getting called out by the president of the team. There are so many things that kind of provided speed bumps to the Bruins season. So it's been interesting. And yeah, you're right. Like at 17-13-3 and 9-4 under Joe Sacco, they seem to have kind of steadied things out a little bit. But Sacco, by the way, if you're going, hasn't he coached in the NHL before? The answer is yes. He was the head coach of the Colorado Avalanche for 4 seasons. He, until this year with Colorado, he was 130, 134, and 30. Went 2-4 in the playoffs, and now has a record of 139, 138, and 30. So he has some coaching chops under his belt and abilities, obviously. So we'll see how it continues with the Boston Bruins. All right. That was point number 2 of Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. It was coaching changes. Point number 3, Cass, short memories.
Yeah, how quickly can Evan Bouchard and Matthias Ekholm forget about that last game, because that was ugly. That was not a good night for them. Some odd mistakes like blowing a tire at the blue line by Evan Bouchard, and some just struggle mistakes from Matthias Ekholm, like softly batting a puck up the wall that gets turned over. A pair that is Edmonton's top defensive pair that has definitely had its ups and downs, and that may have been their worst game. Now, they've been playing generally pretty good, but that was a really tough game for that pair against the Florida Panthers. Let's look for them to have a bounce back tonight. Would be a good opportunity, I think, to play another team that comes at you with a lot of pressure, because Boston does play with a pretty up-tempo pressure style game, and they're going to be watching that Florida tape going, hey, we can pressure these guys, not necessarily run them over physically, but physically get to them by taking away their time and space and try to create issues. So again, I don't think there's a ton of teams in the league that have enough speed and systematic ability on the forecheck to really, really, really challenge the Edmonton Oilers. I think Boston's one of the teams that does. So it's going to be a night where those guys have to execute better underneath that pressure. For Evan Bouchard, got to make decisions a little bit quicker, knowing that you're going to have less time and space. And Matthias Ekholm, just has to stabilize his game a little bit, where he just really struggled against Florida.
Hey, we know Bouchard's nicked up. I'm not making an excuse, and I said this on the post game the other night. Remember, he got nicked up. He wasn't skating the last couple of practices. How much does that affect the guy? Because they don't have another defenseman right now to slot in. They'd have to call someone up. Regula's not ready to go. How much can that affect a guy? Because it was no bueno the other night for, like you said, Ekholm, and then specifically Bouchard.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to factor in, right? Like it factors in, especially from a mobility standpoint, where maybe you don't necessarily have the confidence to be as explosive, or you're just not as explosive because you're banged up, so you can't be as explosive. Not that he's an explosive style of player, he's a patient type of player, but he still is a fairly fluid skater, especially for his size, and gets around quite well. So it's a factor. But all those mistakes weren't just I'm banged up mistakes; they were mistakes.
Right.
And if it's not a concussion, it's not a head injury, not mistakes you can make. And so that's they didn't look like the type of mistakes where it's like, oh, he's just banged up. Now, if he's back checking, skating, trying to catch guy, you could go, okay, maybe that. If he's trying to evade, maybe that a little bit. So there's some of it, but I don't know. I don't want to harp on him, but it was just a bad game, injury or not.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. It's fair to say. All right, 780-218-9999. It is the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Tom Gazzola, Matt Cassian, and Hernan Salas with you as we get you set for the Oilers and the Bruins. We had a text come in from Coach Mike. Says, what do you guys think? More goals tonight, Draisaitl or Pasternak? Coach Mike, what would you say?
Well, let's pick Draisaitl because we're optimistic, right? Why wouldn't we?
He's on fire.
He's on fire, playing really well. So let's go with Leon Draisaitl. Now, Pasternak, heck of a player. One of those guys that can absolutely control an offensive zone, can control the pace of play, is silky smooth out there. Really fun player to watch. Really great player. One of the best in the world. So I don't want to write him off, but let's pick Leon.
Pasternak has scored in his last couple of games. He had a 4-point night in Vancouver, and actually, he's been putting up a lot of points lately. So
he was slow at the start of the season, and he's been really picking it up. The last 10, 15 games, he's been putting up some points.
Well, since the start of December, a goal versus Montreal, an assist versus Detroit, 2 assists versus Chicago, and another assist against Philly, another goal against Winnipeg, gets blanked against the Kraken, then a goal and 3 assists against Vancouver, and then another goal the other night in overtime against Calgary to get the win for the Bruins. So he's put together a hell of a stretch here, and he's one of the best players in the game. So we're going with Draisaitl on this one?
We think why not? Like I said, optimistic.
Yeah. Hey, both guys could score, but if Leon scores more than David Pasternak, I think Oilers fans will be quite content with that. Nancito, what would you say to Coach Mike's question?
Yeah, I got to side with you guys. Kind of boring answer, but yeah, Leon Draisaitl for sure.
Unbelievable. Why can't you argue with us?
Oh, I will if this doesn't go good tonight.
I know. Cass, it was Belzy that was in for you the other night when the Oilers lost to the Panthers. What did you think of that game? I know you had a chance to break it down a little bit on 2 guys and a goalie, but if you're Chris Knobloch and the coaching staff, how are you looking at it? And is there big-time concern? I made some jokes earlier saying that there's some Oilers fans that are like, this is where it starts to unravel. But I don't really believe that. How do you assess and analyze everything we saw Monday?
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't mean they're beginning to unravel. It's not like you got blown out. Like you found a way still to score goals, to create some opportunity offensively. You just made too many big mistakes, which is something they haven't done very much. They've been really good at limiting grade A chances. Goaltending has been really good. It wasn't in the Florida game. So yeah, I'm not that concerned. Now you can't have spillover. Like that's the problem is you have spillover and you get back to back where you're sloppy. So hopefully they tighten the ship up here tonight, but I'm not freaking out and not overly concerned for everyone. I mean, it's the roller coaster of emotions that people go through is real, fans and players and management and everybody at times. So let's try to even keel a little bit. Yes, it wasn't a great game, but it wasn't like they were blown out and played absolutely horrible. They still did some good things, particularly in the offensive zone. They just made too many big mistakes defensively, which has been an area they've been pretty good at.
I like this one from Coyote Steve, specifically for you. Coyote Steve says, Cass, who wins the goalie battle? 892 or 887 or last shot wins?
Last shot wins. Yeah. Well, if we look at from a recency bias standpoint, Stuart Skinner has been playing much, much better. So his save percentage has been moving up. And Swayman's has been kind of steady. Like he even with the found a way to really jack up that save percentage. Like it's been I don't want to say a tough ride for him still.
Cutting out on us here, Tom?
Oh yeah, I think he's cutting out a little bit. We'll reconnect with Cass, but to follow up. Oh, there you are. Cass. Okay, sorry, you froze a bit.
Yeah, overall, I would say from what I have seen, and that's not because I haven't watched Boston that much, but I think he's been more solid. And let's lean Stuart Skinner again. Positivity, guys. Optimism. Let's do it.
Optimism. Very good. Just a quick note on Jeremy Swayman. He's won 5 of his last 6 starts. He's been playing much, much better of late after a rough start, much like the Boston Bruins. But yeah, Swayman gets the start in goal for the Bruins, and it's Stu Skinner for the Oilers. Nanso, you got anything that you want to throw at Cass?
No, it's just it's an interesting goaltending battle because 2 really good goaltenders. I mean, well, I should say 1 because we know how our fan base feels about the certain goalie here in Edmonton, but nonetheless, that's going to be a big one. And listen, we talked about it on Monday, Tommy, with Belzy and just Stuart Skinner wasn't at his sharpest. Sure, it was a one-off. He's been really good. So I'm intrigued to see his bounce back, but not only his, but the team in front of him. And the main guy I'm watching tonight is Evan Bouchard because he was he had a rough night from the first shift. Tom, we were there at the game, and from the first shift on, you knew it was going to be a rough one for Bouchard. He had 2 blunders on the first shift. On the second one, he had a turnover, and then it all went downhill from that. So 2 players I'm watching to see their bounce back, Skinner and Bouchard, and then the team as a whole if they get a little bit of a bump here with Arvidsson returning. Yeah.
Cass, the Christmas holiday season, when you're at home, good, bad, doesn't matter for the players. How do you look at it?
Depends on the player. Some guys it's good, some guys it's not. They can't, their minds are wrapped up with that little Christmas break, and they're just dwell on it a little bit and thinking of all the sugar plums and the turkey or ham or brisket or whatever you're going to be cooking, and are looking forward to that break. But I mean, as a professional, you got to know that you got to play through. And I think for this Oilers team, again, playing with some momentum, I don't think that's going to be an issue. And really it's not until that last game. That's that last game before the Christmas break. That's the one where you're like, ooh, we could see like whose mind is already outside of this one, thinking about where they're going after, if they're going back home and thinking about the break. We're still a couple days away here, so I don't think that's going to factor into this one too much.
Hey, what is a sugar plum, by the way? Because I
have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Hernan, what is a sugar plum?
No idea, man.
Yeah, no clue. No clue. All right, Cass, finally, just what kind of game do you think we're in for tonight?
I think we're going to see an up-tempo game. I think we're going to see Boston pressure a lot, and Edmonton is going to have to figure out how to deal with it. So I think we do see Edmonton come out of the gate strong, and then I think you see Boston make a little bit of a push, and it's going to be up to Edmonton to respond to that push. So I do expect a fun game. I think we're going to have a fast game tonight, up-tempo, and it could be a little bit of offense. You got 2 teams that are capable of it, and some of the best players in the world on the ice. So it's going to be a fun one.
I look forward to it, Cass. That was a great edition of Game Changers. As always, we'll catch you on the post-game show.
Absolutely, guys. Talk to you then.
There's our sugar plum, Matt Cassian, our game analyst, helping us get set for the Oilers and the Bruins. I had to look up sugar plum. Not going to lie to you, it doesn't look appealing to me.
Okay.
It looks like, I don't know if it's like they unwrap the skin of a plum and just sprinkle sugar all over it, but I don't know. Or if it's just like a mashed up pastry, but didn't look great to me.
Didn't look good.
No.
You're kind of picky though, Tom. So.
They're a type of dragée or other hard candy made into small, round, or oval shapes. The plum is the name of these confections. Does not always mean, where the heck? Plum is in the sense of the fruit, but rather the small size and spherical or oval shape. Traditional sugar plums often contain no fruit, instead being made mostly of pure sugar. Shocking. These candies were comfy, right? Is that how you say it? And often surrounded a seed, nut, or spice. Yeah. No thanks. I'm good without a sugar plum.
You're good, eh?
I would try it. Yeah. Doesn't seem all that appealing. Anyway, text us 780-218-9999 GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Brought to you by GCL Diesel, our fine partners over there. And portions of this hour, of course, brought to you by Hudson's, Canada's Pub. You're invited to watch any Oilers game. Today's all-day happy hour. Also, $6 house draft with their new Blueberry Blonde Ale. Book your reservation now at hudsonscanadaspub.com. It's Christmas season. Got a lot of parties happening. So you want to get your tables confirmed and make sure there's no hassle when you try to get there or you don't get shown the door. And then other times, they just say, come on down. Find your seat. So Hudson, Canada's Pub. Check them out. Eric Russo will be joining us in a couple minutes. We're going to be giving him a call. He's actually texting me right now, Nan. So.
Okay. I'm going to give him a call right now, then.
All right. I'll let him know. All right. Get those texts in 780-218-9999. I'll let him know. Nasty chat. See what's going on over there. All right. Coyote Steve says, Bush has to learn when his guys are in front of the net, he has to keep puck waist high or nobody will want to be there. Lucky we didn't lose Hyman for a long time. That puck did get redirected, but it did go up. He did raise it. Unfortunate redirection there. One of 9 games on the schedule, this Oilers-Bruins matchup. I should get you up to speed on what's going on around the National Hockey League right now. Tampa leading St. Louis. 3 minutes remain in the second period. The score 3-1 there. Columbus up 3-zip on New Jersey in Columbus. 1 minute left in the middle frame. The Kings up 2-1 on Philly in the city of brotherly love. 4 minutes into the second period. Nashville's got a 1-0 lead over Pittsburgh in the Music City. 4:25 left in the first. No score yet as the Kraken and Hawks are just underway. And then you got Ottawa visiting Calgary. We'll see Ottawa next week. Vancouver is in Vegas. And then San Jose hosts Colorado to wrap up the night. All right, let's go out of town with our guest, Eric Russo. He is the Bruins beat reporter. You can catch him on all digital platforms for the Boston Bruins. I've known him for many, many years. Great to have him back on the program. If you have any questions in regard to the Bruins, fire those our way, 780-218-9999. And then if you're watching on YouTube, get into the nasty chat as well. Hey, Stoosh, good to have you on here. And it was kind of lonely. I only saw Trav and Loren. I was wondering where Blaine was. Yep. No Penzi. But it was good to see some of the crew. I know you're a busy boy right now. You've got some big boy duties, moving and all that. But you're also organizing and executing this drone fly around TD Garden everyone was telling me about in the crew.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, for celebrating the 100th anniversary. That was cool. Like, I legitimately was in awe of that. I retweeted it. It's on my Twitter account if anybody's wondering what the heck I'm talking about. How did you set and organize all of that up? Because, Eric, that thing was crazy. Well done, sir.
Well, I appreciate it, and I do miss you. I miss seeing your face in person, but it is good to talk to you from across the way here. No, that was an awesome project. Honestly, it was 18 months in the making. It was something that we talked about doing before our centennial year last year ahead of opening night. It didn't really come to fruition, so revisited it over the summer here and made it happen. It was a logistical challenge, to say the least. Trying to get all those legends in one place was not easy, but fortunately they were all in town for our centennial game, and it turned out about as well as we could have expected. Obviously, the reaction and just the reach of it has been a little overwhelming, to be honest. So better than we could have expected, and a great way to sort of wrap up that centennial celebration.
Hey, it was genuinely amazing. Ray Bork, Bobby Orr, Willie O'Ree, Johnny Busick, who's from Edmonton, played for the same club team I did growing up in North Edmonton. Cam Neely, obviously, and then even getting the play-by-play guys involved. Was there any? Oh, Phil Esposito was in there too. I forgot about Phil Esposito. Like, was there any pushback, or was there Terry? Was that Terry O'Reilly in the penalty box? Did I see?
Sure was, yep. And then we had Marshy out there, of course, who's the current representative, and Bergie and Big Z to close it out as well. So it was, like I said, it was a challenge to get all those guys, but everyone was willing and ready to be a part of something that I don't think anyone quite realized how special it would turn out. But I think everyone had a pretty good idea it was going to be cool. And shameless plug, if you go watch Behind the B, the latest Behind the B on YouTube, you'll see Bobby Orr's reaction to the whole thing as well behind the scenes. So it was pretty cool. Even those guys appreciated the modern day technology that it took to pull that off. So
yeah, legit, seriously legit. And then one more thing on Johnny Busick, because I know he used to do like the travel for the Bruins. And you've been around him and a lot of these guys. Like, when did he stop doing? I know Loren, who used to be with the Oilers, is doing it now, but he was pretty involved for a long time. And what's he like? Because, people forget he's from here.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best. I mean, he's just, obviously he's a Hall of Fame legendary hockey player, but, he's an even better person, and he's approaching 90 years old, and he's still at every game. So he hasn't done the traveling for probably, this is season 10 for me, and I think he stopped right before I started. So, he was doing it almost until he was 80. So I think this is year 67 for him. So I've got a ways to go to match him. But he's unreal. And obviously he was a big part of that centennial celebration too, dropped the ceremonial puck with Ken Dryden from Montreal. So, he's the best. We had a chance to go out and visit his summer home 2 summers ago now, ahead of the centennial, and see some of the old memorabilia he has out at his home in BC. And it was awesome to be there and see the little guest house that the likes of Bobby Orr and everyone have stayed in over the years. So it's pretty awesome. And he's a definition of a legend.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Eric Russo joining us now on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show, getting you set for the Oilers and the Bruins. Eric, Bruins beat reporter. Okay, Eric, Joe Sacco takes over for Jim Montgomery. He's 9-4 so far. Talk about the effect that he's had on this group. Is it just a different voice, someone else in charge being the main guy? How do you look at the effect that he's had in a positive way, obviously, for Boston, and especially after the success Montgomery did have with the Bruins?
Yeah, no, certainly a tough thing to go through as a team that's had so much success over the last couple of years. And, Monty obviously did a tremendous job, but things were not going well there over the first couple of months. And unfortunately, sometimes you need a bit of a shake-up and something to catch the team's attention, and certainly it did. I think it's a combination of that and some small little tweaks to the scheme that have contributed to the success the Bruins have been able to have since the change. I think the biggest thing is just attention to detail, especially defensively. They've really locked things in. Jeremy Swayman has played better. Jonas Korpisalo has been really good all year. And just like I said, overall, just a better, commitment on the defensive side has led to more success all over the ice and, to a little more offense as well. So I think that's the biggest change. Obviously, the first couple games of this road trip were not that way.
Right.
But I think you have to factor in probably just the nature of traveling across the continent and all of that stuff, not to make excuses for the Bruins, but obviously they've bounced back pretty well over the last couple. So, overall, just a much better attention to detail, I think, especially defensively.
Hey, we're going to see Oliver Wahlstrom make his Bruins debut. There's a bunch of new guys on this roster. Here in Edmonton, we talked about some of the new faces coming in, and there's like that transition period for them, and maybe that's what contributed to some stumbles out of the gate for the Oilers early on this year. How have the new guys, amalgamated so far? Are we seeing them hit their rhythm with their new team? And then what is the expectation for a guy like Wahlstrom?
Yeah, when it comes to Wahlstrom, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in there tonight. There's been a little bit of an issue on the right side for the Bruins behind David Pastrnak. Tyler Johnson was put on waivers today. He was sort of in and out of the lineup, didn't quite work out. So I think the Bruins are hoping that Wahlstrom can sort of come in and fill that role. Obviously a different player. He's a younger guy. Tyler Johnson's a veteran, 2-time Cup champ. So we'll see. I think the Bruins are looking for any kind of offensive jump they can get, and they're hoping that Wahlstrom can sort of, with a change of scenery, coming back home. He's from Maine. He was a local legend himself with a famous mini one-on-one clip of him scoring a famous shootout goal here at TD Garden that's made the rounds over the last couple of days. So I think the Bruins are hoping that maybe a little change of scenery will help him. A couple of years ago, he had a really good year with the Islanders, not so much the last couple. So I think that's the hope there, and we'll see what he looks like in his debut tonight with Charlie Coyle and Trent Frederick on the Bruins' third line. And then, as far as other new faces, two guys that you guys are familiar with from over the years facing, and Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been an adjustment period. Those two guys that were signed to big contracts over the summer, and it's not easy coming into a new place. So it's definitely been an adjustment, but Zadorov has been one of those guys since the change that has really settled in and played that tough style of defensive prowess that you expect from him. And he can skate and move the puck a little too, but obviously, that defensive side and that brute force that he brings is what the Bruins are looking for, and you've seen that a lot lately. And then watch out for Elias Lindholm. He had a real good game the other night against his former team in Calgary with a goal and an assist. So I think, he may be starting to settle in a little bit too.
Eric Russo with us, Bruins reporter, getting you set for the Oilers and the Boston Bruins. All right, the wins over Vancouver and Calgary, what are some of the things that the Bruins are going to look to build on? And then what kind of hockey game do you think we're going to see from Boston tonight?
Yeah, 2 games ago in Vancouver, I think is maybe their best game of the year, 5-1 win. Did pretty much everything right. It didn't quite translate into Calgary. It was a real slow start. And then the third period, the Bruins obviously came back from a 3-1 deficit to tie it up and win it in overtime. So I think they're feeling pretty good about how they've responded over the last couple of games. Again, the first 2 games of this trip were not very good. I think it was outscored 13-2 in Seattle. And the first game of the trip as well. I can't even remember where they played, but the first 2 games of the trip were not too good. So
yeah,
I think Winnipeg was the other game.
Yeah, Winnipeg.
So I think the Bruins are feeling good about, how they've bounced back over the last couple and looking to carry that in and closing out what's been an 11-day, 2-week kind of road trip here for them. So, this could be a tough one too. They're looking forward to getting home, I'm sure. So you got to try to focus against a team that went to the final last year. So I think that'll help. And like I said, feeling good about the last couple and trying to build on those.
Yeah. What's funny is the crew looked like they were ready to go back home. So we'll see what happens tonight. And Eric, thanks for doing this, buddy. And good luck with the move. Merry Christmas to you. And hopefully we catch you soon.
All right, Tommy. Same to you. And thanks very much. And we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. There's Eric Russo, Bruins team reporter. Great stuff from him, as always. He's on the move. Tough week to do it. He's closing in on a house. So that's a busy boy over there, but he had some time to catch up with us. And yeah, the Bruins TV crew was like, they're like, oh, we are tired. And it gets that way, especially this time of year. You want to be home. You want to get everything settled, right? You want to be ready for Christmas.
Man. It's the grind of the NHL season. I'd get tired on just 1 day trip. 2 day trips with the CFL team, man. Like it's, believe me, it's a lot. I mean, we're not comparing it to, the real tough jobs out there on the, whatever you want to call it, rigs or labor. Yeah. But it's a different kind of, exhaustion, Tom. And you were with the team for many, many years, and it's got its perks, but it's also got it's a lot of you got to grind it out, man. Yeah, for sure.
All right, got the Oilers and the Bruins. We had Eric Russo there giving us the Bruins perspective. We had some good questions and some good answers today from Cass. Some final thoughts now as we go into this game. What are you thinking? Hernan Arvidsson makes his return. Will Bouchard be better? Will the Stuart Skinner that we've witnessed the last couple of weeks reemerge, or are we going to see more of the same from Skinner like we did on Monday?
Yeah, it's tough. I'm not, I call it how it is, and I think Skinner has been really good. You're due for a bad game. It was a bad game. Bouchard as well. So I am intrigued on those two guys, how they bounce back. Both guys have shown us, and they've proven it, that they bounce back pretty good, Tommy. So I'm intrigued by the lines. I know they like happening with Draisaitl, but I think Arvidsson's just a better fit. He's more offensive. Yeah. And I think, hell, Tom, we might even see it tonight. They might just move him up there after maybe 20 or 40 minutes. So I'm intrigued by some of these lineups. Janmark back to center. Not truly that's his position, but he's played it before. And I'm excited to see Arvidsson back in the lineup. I want to see a bounce-back game, though, for the top pairing of the Edmonton Oilers. Boston's feeling good. They've won their last two here on their Western Canadian road trip. So I think this is a game that the Oilers should have. I think they're going to be feisty and ready to go after what happened on Monday night, losing to the team that took the Stanley Cup away from them. So I'm excited, Tom. I think it's going to be a hell of a night down at Rogers Place. Every time these two teams meet, Tom, it's a fun game. And it's interesting that Boston dominates Edmonton in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And Edmonton dominates Boston in Boston, which is fast. The other thing, though, Boston's power play is atrocious, Tom. I think it's like
their special teams aren't good.
Yeah, so there's something that the Oilers are trending up. Their power play, I think, is over 22% now. The PK it's been good as of late, and it's going to take a while for it to get to a respectable number. But I think they got him in the special teams as well. So let's hope for an Oiler win and a bounce back for a couple players that had some rough nights on Monday.
The power play for the Oilers, 22.8%, like you mentioned. That is now 11th in the NHL, Hernan. So it has really done some work to climb the rankings. PK still at 26, 73.3% with two shorties. Boston's power play, 31st in the NHL, 12.9%. The PK, 21st at 77.5% with two shorties scored. So the Oilers do have the special teams advantage. I did see a few nasty chats that I wanted to get to before we wind things down. Ro Nelson texting in says Henrique needs to get his scoring goal mojo going, and putting him in the top six would charge him up, I think. Energizes play. 20/7 seasons is quality, but seems like Knob doesn't get vets. So Henrique, and I've talked to Adam Henrique a little bit about, and we had him, again, I did a one-on-one that was in the Nasty Club exclusive. He talked about how his role has evolved, and he's kind of had to settle into being a third-line center when he has been a top six guy for the good majority of his career. He's played some wing. He came here. He was playing top-line wing. Sometimes he was playing center. He was kind of moving around last season when he got in here, and now he's been kind of locked into that third-line center role. But right now, you look at Henrique's numbers, and they're not going to jump out at you after a 50-point season last year. He's got 9 points in 31 games. He's on pace for what? Maybe 30 points-ish. That's a big step back, but a different role and a different ask for him as well. I did see one other one I wanted to get to really quickly. I think I saw it from Penner's Pancakes. He was talking about the demeanor that Evan Bouchard has. It was Bouch just has the same look all the time. He never has an aggressive look or passionate look. It is just the same la-di-da expression, no matter the situation. I think, Hernan, we've kind of learned to accept that, right?
But remember Ricky Ray?
I do remember Ricky Ray.
The same thing. That guy never got up for, he always looked the same. Whether he's winning a Grey Cup or playing game one of the preseason, he just... And I get it. It annoys fans. I get it. I do, Tom. Because sometimes you look at him and they get scored on and he's just kind of la-di-da. But, that's just... that's just him, man. You can't change that in a person, right?
Yeah.
And
ice cold, man.
Shout out to Penner's Pancakes. He dropped off a big, enormous bottle for us here at EST. So
really,
yeah. Thank you, Penner's Pancakes. Again, it's great to see you again, and thank you for the wonderful Christmas gift for the EST crew.
Nicely done, Penner's Pancakes. Look forward to seeing that tomorrow when I'm back in studio with the boys. All right, that's going to do it for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Nanso, great stuff. Big thank you to Eric Russo and for Hernan Salas and Matt Cassidy. I'm Tom Gazzola saying thank you as always for watching and listening. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. And if you don't subscribe already to EST, please do. Oilers, Bruins, do the Oilers win column and snap this losing streak at home to Boston. They've lost their last 4 visits to the Bruins. We'll see. That'll do it. We'll send you off now as the Oil and Bruins reconnect, and we'll catch you on the post-game show. Ciao for now.